Good morning. I am in Massachusetts at the South Shore Music Circus in, where am I? Cohasset, I believe it's called. And just double checking where I am. Where am I? Where am I? Cohasset, that's right. Somebody was asking where I am. And so we're, I think, about an hour and a half outside Boston, something like that. And what's going on, everybody? How you doing? A little bit of an earlier stream this week since I'm on the East Coast and I'm gonna have to go to work in a couple hours. Let's see who we got here in the house. We got Art, we got Robert, we got Vincent. I met Vincent last week. He came out to a show in Pennsylvania, and Vincent brought me some nice coffee and a cable. Thank you very much, Vincent. It's good to meet you. And let's see, we got Eric here from Finland. That's nice. And we got Jay and we got Niall. It's good to see all you guys. Thanks for showing up a little bit early. I don't know how many folks will know that I put up the notification and stuff, so I'm not sure how many. It might be a more intimate group today. Because who knows, whether or not people will realize. But we're having a great time. We just hit a nice stride, I feel like, yesterday. If anybody out there that's toured or plays live, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, you hit a thing where you feel like you're firing on all cylinders and the band's really gelling and everybody's getting along and it's like a good vibe. We just kind of settled into that yesterday, I feel like, which was really nice, where it's just kind of like just having fun now. So it's good vibe. There's a super chat there from Wheeze. I love my PT100, but more plexi would be awesome. Can you talk about modded PT100 amps in the zone? Well, so kind of with the architecture of the PT100, you've got a gain stage in front, like an extra gain stage from a plexi sort of architecture. So I know what you mean, and it's something that we're kind of working towards for the next thing that we're doing. I think maybe I'm going to move inside because they're just dumping the trailer right now and it might get a little loud. I'll come back out here in a few minutes, but I think it'll be better if I go inside for a minute. All the gear's going in. There's our bus and trailer. The bus, the trailer. And I just think with the cases and stuff, maybe it'll get a little noisy. And then I'll address this PT question. In the dressing room here. Yeah. Let's see where I can set up in here. Be easier in this room. Desk in here. That'll work. So as I was saying, it's something that we're kind of working towards with the PT, like the new one. So we're working on a 50 watt model now. That will probably be a little more to your liking, I would say, if what you're looking for is the plexi thing. Because I'm aware of that as well. Like anytime, it's just a similar thing with like a Friedman or like different amps. When you get that extra gain stage in front, it's almost like adding a light drive pedal in front of an amp, right? And so you can kind of, when you've got one gain control, you're sort of varying the gain, but it's not completely, it's like adding if you had a light drive on in front of, so I think that's what you're feeling. You can get really similar to plexi sort of sound and feel to me with it's just like guys don't like to, maybe you find this, guys don't like to do it. Like they don't like to turn the gain down to like 2, even though you can, you feel like, oh, I want to get it up around 5, but have less gain or something. So it can be sort of almost psychological. I know that feeling too, like if you take the bright off on a PT100 and then you turn the gain down to like 2.5 and you just bring the treble a little bit up to compensate for the lack of bright or presence, you can get this like light drive thing that's really, really similar. But anyways, what else we got here? Is there going to be a PT combo? I I don't know about that. Like John, for him, combos are kind of total redesigns. Maybe it's hard because it's like everybody wants a Marshall style tubes up design head. But if you do that, then you can't put it in a combo. With a PT100 or that design with the tubes down, more like a Fender would be built, right? Or Mesas and stuff. You can then easily kind of take that and retrofit it into a combo cabinet. So it's just different. Like the way like Friedman gets around that is he'll take the whole thing and then put it in the with the knobs in the back sort of thing, right? In a combo. So there's no knobs on the front. It's on the top, more like a Fender Bassman, right? JTM 45, right? Marshall combos. They would just take the same thing and put it in the head shell, but the knobs would be facing backwards, right? When you're looking at the front of it. John doesn't really like to do that on amps, so that's a non-answer, I guess. But I would just say that if we're doing tubes up Marshall style, you probably won't see a combo just because, maybe we can make a matching open back cabinet or something that would give you the combo sound anyway. It's more reliable anyway, because when you've got the tubes and the speakers and stuff in the same, it's always like more vibration and stuff, and it doesn't really lend itself to reliability. Combos are tough, tube rattle and all that. It's just a different thing. So anyways, what else we got here? What are you guys talking about? Let's see. Trying to stay cool, says John. It's hot. It is. It's warm, man. It's warm everywhere, it seems. Yeah. It's our warming earth. Have you had much experience with the OD100 Classic? So the very first OD I played was actually a Classic Plus. And John said this is probably the closest thing to what you would like, what you're looking for. And I did like it. The Classic Plus sounded really quite good to me. That's where we started with the original PT100. He made some mods, and then we ended up with the original CAA PT100 from there. So yeah, I played a Classic Plus. I don't know what the difference between the Classic and Classic Plus was. Can't remember if there was an extra, if it had an extra gain boost in it or something. But anyways, it was EL34. The OD100 originally was 5881s, I think, or 6L6s. So that was a different sounding amp. When using your amp plug-in, should you use a direct box before your interface? No. Generally speaking, you can just plug right into the high Z input on, good. If you got a UA or an Apogee or PreSonus or Focusrite, just plug right into the, you might experiment with different, different DIs or different, you can, but I don't really think it's necessary. I just plug literally when I record bass, for instance, into the high Z input of my, my UA Apollo 8P, and it sounds great to me. Now, Sean Hurley, who I'm out on tour with right now, swears by his Noble, and he also says it's quieter. He's got me thinking about trying some different things for noise rejection and stuff like that, because he swears when he plugs into his Nobles and then goes into his UA interface with the direct box in between, he gets less noise from the pickup, like less EMI or something. And I'm like, how's that possible? But he says it's 100%. I haven't heard it yet, but he's going to show me. So I find that really interesting. And then there's also this Furman that he's showing me that's like $39.95 or something. That's a power strip that's got EMI rejection in it. I'm like, engineer friend of his swears by it. So I'm like, I gotta try that, I guess. But I don't know how that can, like, by filtering the power and EMI, like less noise coming through single coil pickups. I don't have high hopes it's going to work, but he's a smart guy, and I'm gonna try it anyway. It's worth buying one, I think. Like plugging the pedal board in the amp, and I don't know, I'll try anything once to see. How's your gear holding up on the road? Great so far. Knock on Formica. How do you say it? It's been so hot in many places. What do you do to protect your rig and guitars while they're on the road? Nothing. Just to go in the trailer and then you hope for the best. one of the great things about Sir's roasted neck, right? I find the roasted necks, I had to do a truss rod adjustment on my red one yesterday. It's the first one all tour, coming from the West Coast all the way out here. It's more moist, there's rain, and it's not so dry. And little quarter turn on the truss rod adjustment was all I needed. Those necks are really, really, really stable. The finishes are like indestructible. Sir's a really, really, really thin poly of whatever type that they use. They're very difficult to scratch. They don't crack. They don't, so the guitars are just like super great road tools. I found them and I fly them all over the place, throw them in the hold on planes, and I never have trouble. So everything seems good so far. Let's see. This, I think you're trying to say, how hard do you turn the locks on your bridge on your signature guitars? I generally don't lick the bridges on my guitars, but no, I tighten them up pretty good, man. I find that it works way better having the. What I find I need to do is like lock them down, then work the bridge a little bit, and then play and work the bridge, and then see if a string is going sharp. And if it is, I'll go back to that one, and I'll almost 100% of the time go to turn the lock a little bit tighter, and there'll still be a little bit of play in it. And when I do that, it tends to help the tuning stability even more. So they're kind of delicate with the locks on the Wilkinson bridge that's on my guitars. And if any of you guys have the saddles, you have to be very careful with the type of Allen screw and the key that is. It's not a really big. It's the one improvement I would actually suggest is a more robust screw with maybe a bigger Allen key to lock the string down, because the key is kind of small. And if you do it at an angle, it kind of slips, and then you can start to strip your key and stuff. So you have to be very like sort of direct on with it with a even pressure, and just be careful to not kind of mess up either the screw or the wrench when you're doing it. It's a little bit of a thing, but it's not that hard really. Thanks for giving Dada so many good mentions. I think they're hidden gem. Yeah, they were great, man. People don't talk about that band anymore, and they should. They were really good. Great songwriting and musicians. One of those, kind of unsung bands that, man, we're out with Verve Pipe. They sound great. There's another band that came out of the 90s. Some great songs. Great singer. He's fantastic, Brian. Let's see. That was the question on the OD100 Classic. What else we got here? Just looking through what you guys are talking about. Stay healthy. I'm working on it. Feeling good. Yesterday we were in Atlantic City, and we played a fun show and had a couple good meals at the Hard Rock there. And so I feel pretty good. Been eating good food and stuff. And PT100 Brainworks plugin. Let's see, Mr. Tar, on a demo I'm working on. Sorry, I'm not reading the whole question. Hey, Pete, I'm using your statement. Hey, Pete, I'm using the PT100 Brainworks plugin on a demo I'm working on now. Pretty sweet. It is really good, isn't it? I mean, I could make a record with it. It's a really, really good sounding plugin. Lots of, versatility there. Between that and a good AC30 plugin, you can make a whole album, I think. 22-year-old artists and guitarists have a song coming out in 12 days that has the plexi aerobatics we all love. Nice. Wondering if you'd give it a listen. The demo got me to LA recently, says Jordan. I'd be happy to. When you put it out, come on the show and tell us where to watch it or hear it, where to watch it. Everything's YouTube now, but you know what I mean? It'll be on YouTube. It'll be everywhere, right? So I'd be happy to check it out. Ever consider a PT mini head? Maybe. That might be something that I'm thinking about. I would love to do a little head, something, small and super toneful. So lots of stuff that we've been working on for sure. When I get back home, I'm going to go out and see Papa Sir and spend some time out there and do more R&D. Love the R&D. When you did that crank Marshall stack video, a great byproduct of that was hearing how much of the tone varies by the player. Yeah, for sure. Any chance of a new video on that very subject? You know, the interesting thing about that, like, although this isn't really what it focused on, but if you watch the video I did called Why Old School Tube Amp Distortion is the Best Distortion, I think I called it, I show in that video how an amp with less front end gain has less compression in the front end, and how more of it's coming from the back end. And you can hear, I actually show that what the transformer sounds like, and the compression and the sag of the power and all that in that video. And that is kind of a byproduct of that character, like what you're talking about, the difference between players and the way that the sound is affected by your touch and by the pickups and all that. The more gain you build into the front end of an amp, the less variation you get in all that, because there's more overdrive and more compression and more distortion generated by the 12AX7s. And you know what I'm saying? So although that wasn't really what I focused on in that video, because it's only me playing really, that is definitely what happens. The individual, everything from your hands, which is the biggest one, to the pickups, to the other effects that you're putting into the amp and stuff, all gets a little bit more dynamic on something like a Plexi or an old Fender or an AC30 than it does going into an amp with extra gain stages in the front end. Yeah. Looking at some 78 Blackback 75 Hertz speakers opinions. Well, they're my favorites. I mean, I like them even more than, I've heard some great old 60s cabinets, and I don't have a ton of experience with them. I mean, I've never owned one, but I've played, there's this one cabinet that Line 6 has that they have let me play through out at their place that has 20-watt greenbacks in it. So it's extremely, like, it's a very, very early 412 from probably 66 or 67 or something with the 20-watt greenbacks. And it sounds like, it's just like sugar, man. It sounds like nothing else. It's just amazing. They won't let me play it loud, of course. They're 20 watters. So I've played my PT100 at a reasonable volume, not too loud, but God, the speaker sounds sweet in that cabinet. So that was amazing. But I've played some other cabs from 70, 69, 70, 71, 72. And I've been like, okay. And then like the 78 speakers, the Blackbacks, they just have a little bit brighter. It's that total greenback thing, but with a little bit more aggressive. And I love that. That's Van Halen, to me, because that would have been the new cabinets and speakers that were available then in 76, 77, 78, the Blackbacks, right? So I'm sure Eddie used all manner of greenbacks and Blackbacks and whatever he could get his hands on. But, that was what was new and available then, 77, 78, 79. So I always associate those speakers with that sound. But yeah, they're great. I mean, not all created equal, obviously, and they could be beat up. You want to listen to it and make sure it sounds good. You might buy something that's a bit of a crapshoot. Could look good, but it might not sound. If there's cone cry or voice coil rub and all those things that can happen on speakers. So you just got to hope for the best, kind of. Great sounding speakers, though. Really, really great. My old buddy Steve Stevens, he put out a 2-Notes package, and you can get his, some great cabinets. I mean, everything I've heard online sounds really good from that Dyne IR package of Steve. So you should check those out and see if you're a 2-Notes fan, see what they sound like. I think they sound great from what I've heard. So I'm going to give it another 20 minutes here or so, and then I'll go back outside because it was nicer out there sitting outside. By then the trailer should be all empty and all that. Here's a comment about what I was talking about earlier with the tubes down, tubes up. So the design of the head, like the original ODs and the PT100 original, current PT100, the tubes go down and the controls are at the top, like on a Fender, which does make heat drift up into the chassis. Does it affect heat dissipation? Yeah, but if you design the amp right, in my experience, it hasn't mattered. Like, for instance, the OD100s or the PT100s, we don't see, I'm sure John would back me on this, you don't really see returns due to overheating or any kind of failure of components or anything like that. That just isn't a thing. So if you design the amp right, you're fine, but they do get hot. There's no doubt about it. Mine get warm, the chassis with that design, as do old Fenders. And, so it is, I suppose it's an advantage. I mean, if you've got the tubes facing up, like on a PT15, the heat drifts up, heat rises out of the chassis, that kind of thing. Yeah. Do you own a Parker guitar? No, I've never had a Parker. Played a few in stores and stuff, but I've never, I've spent a lot of time with them. I thought they were really interesting, the design. I like different interesting designs, like the Parkers and the, I'd love an original Steinberger, to be honest. I guess they're doing something now. They're making something, but I think that's cool. The fact I could have one of those and throw it in a suitcase, would be really neat. And I kind of just like them. So I'm down with checking out different stuff, but actually maybe using it as my main thing, that would be a different thing. Like a Parker, I can't really see myself doing that. But it's the same thing I feel about sort of Strandbergs and stuff. I see people using those modern guitars now, and I'm like, that's really cool. Like, if for their thing, but I kind of can't get my head around it. I'm such a Les Paul Strat Telly aficionado, kind of the old, from my own style. That's all. But I like different things. I don't like shun it or anything like that. I think it's neat, the different design guitars. What are the differences between custom audio, a Mike Landau 100 versus a PT? It would just be circuit stuff in the front end. I'd have to ask John. I'm not really sure. It's probably got more bass in the preamp. I can tell you that. The ML. It's probably less gain. My thing with John was always, generally speaking, moving towards having a tighter drive sound. Maybe less at the expense of less fat single notes, but tighter when I played rhythm. They don't sound, they're not the same design or something as say a Friedman, like in the way that the preamp is laid out and everything. But there's a similar thing. I actually came from, like, I had a Friedman and an EVH 5150. That was what I had at the time when I hooked up with Sir. I had the second Marcia ever made, which was what became the BE Friedman BE 100. I had the second one that Dave ever made. I wish I still had it, because it's so stupid that I got rid of it. But that'd be a cool thing to have. It was basically was pre-Friedman, but it looked like a Plexi, 4 input, and the volume 1, volume 2, but one was master and one was the gain for the BE design. And I really liked that sound and the tightness of it and stuff. And then I also had an EVH 5150 I was using with Chris Cornell at the time on the road. I used exclusively the blue channel, and that was also kind of a tight, thing. So John was looking at all that, and then that's where he moved into the OD100 got modded to become the PT100, what became, and it was based off of looking at that sound, listening to that sound, going, all right, I know what you want, without copying anything or anything like that. John went at it in his own way. I was opening a show with my wife for Chantal, says Jason. Say hi to Randy Cook. So you're talking about Chantal Kravoziak. Randy was on drums. Randy Cook, this fellow that Jason is talking about, is something about a fart app. I'll never forget him playing a fart app through the drum mics at sound check. That sounds like Randy. Randy Cook's the drummer I'm out with Five for Fighting. We have an amazing, I'm so fortunate to play with these guys. The amazing rhythm section out here. Sean Hurley and Randy Cook. So Sean's of had a long tenure with John Mayer, and and played with a bunch of other folks as well. He's an incredible bass player. Mainly does studio work, doesn't tour a lot, so it's really nice to have him out. So it's a really fun band to play in. And Randy's just a monster drummer. I will say hi for you. 100%, Jason, I will. Neural DSP plugins are fantastic sounding. Just use a Focusrite into some Adams 7-inch monitors. That's what I use, the Adams. Yeah, I don't have a Focusrite, but I have a same monitors. Okay. Let's see. Jeff is asking if my signature Sir guitar, the original version, I guess you mean, still going to be made along with the new model. Yes. Yeah. Both are available now. Yeah. Let's see. John says time for a haircut. No, wait, dude. I like my hair. I'm actually growing it. Growing it on the sides and stuff. This is my look, bro. Let's see. Hi from Nova Scotia, says Todd. What's happening, man? Hot and sunny. Yeah, it's hot here too, man. I'm not far away from you, am I? I'm in New England. Okay. This is Mr. Sai. I know my heel mount truss rod on my Charvel is literally stuck and can't turn either way. That's not good. Haven't gotten it looked at, but so far I don't feel the need to adjust it. It's stuck. Can you put a little more pressure on it? You stick an Allen wrench in there or whatever, and then give it a good. Sometimes they can just be a little sticky, but you shouldn't hurt anything as long as you don't push it too far. I guess it could be a job for a qualified tech to look at, or you might want to hit up Charvel. But sometimes I know what you mean. They can be a little, but I wouldn't be afraid to give it the old college, give it a, you know what I'm saying? Steve, what's happening? He says, Steve stumbled across Todd Roy's IG page, and he says, nice playing. That's awesome. You guys giving each other props out there. Let's see. Leonardo says, thanks for your videos. How do you compare Fractal versus Kemper when you change amp settings like gain? I don't know. Good question. Yeah, I mean, I would probably do the same things on a Fractal that I would on a Kemper. I think they sound different. To me, a Fractal has a certain sound. Generally speaking, Fractals have almost like an identifiable sound and feel. You guys know what I'm talking about? There's like a, I don't know if it's a certain compression or, it's just like this certain color to the sounds of the Fractal. I don't want to say Kemper sounds more transparent. It just sounds a little, a Kemper to me is more like a sampler. It's totally dependent on the samples you put into it. It's empty, and then you put a sound into it. And it has this, kind of like a sampling a piano or something. It's like, whereas the Fractal to me has a little bit more of a distinct kind of tonal character, just kind of the way that it sounds. So, what do you guys think about that? Discuss. The modelers. Mike's Guitar and Gear Channel says, I noticed you were in Bethlehem, my hometown, and didn't get to make the show. How was it? It was cool. Haven't seen your SL68 in the last 4 or 5 lives. It's just in a different place in my rack. I just move heads around a little bit. The old Marshall's up top now, and the SL68 is kind of on the bottom. I just put it in a different, I took it to use for something, and then I moved amps. Sometimes I do that, and then it's not out of any kind of, I still use them just the same. Basically, with my amp switcher from the top to the bottom, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then across 6, 7, and then I've got an 8th output for a combo. And I can just kind of throw them in there and use them however I see fit. There's another super chat there. Can you please talk about the new AI neural, God, my floaters are so bad right now, neural network learning algorithm software that IK Multimedia is working on? Not many seem to be aware. I'm not aware. Tell us. I'm sorry. You sent me a super chat, but yeah, I don't know. Haven't gotten hip to that. Is it like like an amp modeling thing or something, or is it something else? I can't profess to know because I don't know. Will you do a rig rundown for your current setup for this run? Yes, I actually filmed it like kind of quick yesterday. It's going to be a quick one because it's pretty basic rig, really. But I will do that, and then we can discuss. It's on my Digicam. I'll probably dump that stuff over today, edit it up, and see what maybe I need to augment and add to it, and then I'll film a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of wanted to give a rundown of what I'm doing out here. By the way, I love what I'm doing out here right now. It sounds great to me. It's so just works for this situation. It's really nice. So it's a quad based rig, quad Cortex with it, but I'm using a couple of Sir 112 cabinets on stage, and my 2 Sir signature guitars. I've got out a little Supro guitar for a slide on one song. It's really basic. No mics on stage. The output in the neural is feeding the PA, and everybody's very happy. So seems to be good. When will the new Thorn Bucker hit the shelves? It's out now. Not sure if it's it just depends on dealer orders and when they can get them out. I'm sure the pickups will be out there before the guitars get to the stores. Pickup's much easier to do, but yeah, the pickup is available. This is cool, a little poignant for today. Saw the Everly Brothers in '83 at the South Shore Music Circus. Albert Lee on guitar. Great show. That's really cool. Let's take a look outside and see if it's quieter out there now. But as we go, I will show you in the hallway. This place has a heck of a history, and I'm hesitant to go all the way out back to show you what the venue looks like, but maybe I can. But you can see all these posters on the wall here for the different gigs here. I love it. Like, look at this Tony Bennett with Count Basie posters. So it's pretty cool. I guess let's see if it's not that far out there. So let's just go outside and see if I can show you what the venue looks like. It's interesting. It's in the Round. Anybody ever play in the Round out there? If I lose you, I don't think I will. I think the Wi-Fi will. Let's see. Yeah, it's down to 2 bars right now. If it goes down to 1, I'll come back. But it's a beautiful day out here. Hot, but very nice. Let's see if this makes it all the way to the venue without crapping out. In the Round. Cool, right? Yeah. So looks like it rotates, which is always weird because when you're playing on a rotating stage, you'll see people in front of you, and then you look down at your guitar for a second, you look up, it's different people. It's always kind of weird, but I lost my coffee. That's what I always do. I always put it down, and then I can't. Oh, there it is, over there. All right. I think I can go back out by the bus now. I want us to go sit outside. So we'll go down the hall here. One sec. It's just nice outside out back. Yeah, quiet out here now. So, yeah, there's our bus. My home for the last couple weeks. Pulling a trailer. Bus and trailer, everything just fits. With the gear that we've got out here. Brought full lighting rig and 2 desks and everything, so it's packed in that trailer. But yeah, okay, yeah, a little nicer sitting outside right now. So that one, sorry, I don't know about that. Tell us about the AI neural learning network that IK is working on there, Bent Tom. I'll look in the comments and see. What kind of floors do you use in your studio? Do most use real hardwood or wood laminate? Mine are laminate. It was more a cost thing. I didn't really think about, I've got a rug down in there anyway, and it's not, I've thought about that, and then I thought that's, for it's like when I got the floors, I was like, would it matter? And oh god, I'm not gonna think about that. I'm gonna get stuff that's sort of just you spend money building walls, and I didn't do, for instance, a true double wall with the air gap in the middle. I did a 2x6 wall with multiple layers of drywall on either side, and then I did the door proper with 2 doors. But it's not like, it is amazing how quiet it when I close the door. I can just crank in there, and sound barely gets out of my room, so it's good. But I first of all, one big concern with my building is it's rented. My space is rented, so it's like, how much money do you want to dump into a space that you are going to get up and walk away from one day, and just bye, there goes that investment. So the goal was to do it just good enough, to be able to do what I want to do and not spend any more than that, because you do lose that, it was, at the end of the day, it was 15 or 16K that I ended up spending on building a roof, building the walls, all the materials, the labor. And I plan on being there for a good while, and then if I could be there for, I think I've been there going on, since I built 3 or 4 years now. I would like that to be 7 or 8 years, before I go anywhere else, at least, just maybe even 10 years, so that, that at that point, that original 15K or whatever is like, well, that was totally worth it for the amount of work that I did in that room. That's kind of how I look at it. Ben Tom says he loves Thorn bunkers. He bought 5 of them. Thank you. You helped me build the studio. What would be backup if Quad Cortex goes down? I have a second. I have 2 of them. I confess I've been bad, and I haven't even been bringing the second one out. But if I had to, I should really be bringing the second one out on the stage. But I haven't had God, knock on wood once again. I haven't had any problems with that thing. It's been really great. Rock solid piece of gear. Just the little pedal board I've got it on works great. No problems. So, yeah. Mark says Fractal models the electronics of an amp, whereas Kemper models the output of an amp. So yes, Kemper is more like sampling a piano, whereas Fractal is more like piano tech physical modeling synthesis. Yeah, that's a much more kind of educated, mine was the layman's, to me, Fractal has, So Fractal's modeling every part of the amplifier. They're not, doing what Kemper is doing, which is more like just listening to and responding like a, the way that you profile with a Kemper. It's a totally different approach. The interesting thing with the neural is it's kind of both. So, they go at it both ways. Stupid question. No questions stupid around here so far. No. How can I use my pedals to record in Logic? Well, you can just literally plug them in front of your recording interface. I do it all the time. I'll run pedals into the front of my UA recording interface. Many times when I do a delay pedal demo, I'll use plugins because I love using 2 identical channels in my UA with amp plugins on channels 1 and 2, set just the same, but hard panned left and right. And then you plug the delay, or say a stereo chorus, into that, and you get this massive stereo spread that really shows off the delay or whatever you're trying to show, in a really clean way. So yeah, you can use the inputs on most recording interfaces are like the high Z input, when there's sort of a little pitch of a guitar and a 1/4 inch in. They're designed to be like the input of an amp, like as far as the input impedance and everything goes. And one thing to be aware of is they do have an A to D converter in there. You're going to be running into there's some sort of op amps or whatever's in there on that. They're going to have a limit of headroom where, they're designed for
a good loud input, because some people use active basses, for example, or acoustic guitars with preamps in them. So they think about that and they design a fair amount of headroom into those inputs. But if you hit like with 20 dB of gain boosted coming out of your active bass, or coming out of a clean boost or something cranked on, you might blow up the input stage on your average recording interface, and you'll hear it do an ugly distortion um, that you wouldn't want. So just be aware of that. Todd says, "Oh man, I would love to play in the round. Never had the opportunity. Is playing on the back of a flatbed truck considered in the round?" No, but I've never done that, so that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Where are we? Says Buzz. I'm in Massachusetts, Cohasset, I think, at the South Shore Music Fair. I think I got all that right. I'm on tour, so I'm a little like, I woke up literally like on that bus, and then I walked in that green door you see behind me, and I just went, "Oh, okay. Where am I?" I don't really know where I am either. It's quite nice around here. All the other guys went out for a walk and a stroll to the. I guess there's ocean somewhere close to here. So that's about all I know. What else we got here? Mountain bike with you, says Todd. I would love that, man. I've had a couple tours where I've had a bike out, and that's so much fun. But no, unfortunately. Greg says some wonderful venues on this tour. Yeah, it really has been some really fun, like the Bethlehem venue with the smokestacks in the background all lit up. It's the old steel plant there, the Bethlehem steel plant, which was closed down in the 90s and now is kind of almost like an art installation. I don't know how else to describe it. They light it all up at night, and you can actually walk through it. I didn't get to do that at night. I was kind of creepy. Like when you first get up there, it looks like kind of this post-apocalyptic, just closed down factory buildings and stuff, and then you realize how cool they've actually made it. There's an industrial museum there. It's very, interesting to hang there for a day. And there's a venue right there. There's all these closed down buildings, old buildings with the windows out and stuff, and then this very modern venue that's really interesting. So pretty cool. Any more tube comparison videos planned for the future? Not right away, I don't think. I feel like we kind of covered it, although we could do things like 606s and stuff down the road, I guess. But yeah. Let's see. A daily venue tour like Leland Scar is doing now on the Lyle Lovett tour. I guess I could do that. I mean, I guess I took you around this one right now a little bit, right? You saw it. I did take a photo of it for those that haven't seen. But I mean, you basically saw what's going on. It's a stage in the round, dressing room, backstage. Where's my reasons? I could do a more high-tech version of this by sending this to the computer, but that's it. That was before the gear dumped. I took a picture of it this morning, so looks like they got a lot of PA. It's nice, like for a venue like this. They always sound interesting. Playing our PA's firing in all directions, and then you're turning around. I may or may not use in-ears tonight. We'll see. I've got a great intermix and a wedge, which is a luxury, and so I've been flipping between the two, depending on the venue. Ben says no notification. Sorry, Ben. I should have let you know I was going to be out here a little bit earlier today doing this. Just had to do it a little bit earlier because I'll have to start sound check at 4. So I thought, well, if I go 1 to 3 today Eastern time, that'll give me a little bit of time to have some lunch and maybe have to change strings on one guitar and stuff like that. So let's see. What else we got here? What are you guys talking about? Look down the chat a little bit. You guys talking about studio stuff. There's a sheetrock product called Quiet Rock that works great, but it's expensive and it will kill your Wi-Fi. That's actually probably good for studio, though, the killed Wi-Fi, because that means that you're getting some EMI rejection, and that's still a problem in my place. The the EMI is, it's tough with the. I think it's transformers as well, out on poles outside and stuff like that by my building, and just stuff getting in. The best thing to do is have an Ethernet connection in your studio. Have a wired Ethernet connection, and then just put a little share that with a little airport or something in your studio if you have to have Wi-Fi in there. The less stuff getting in the studio, the better, in my opinion, for quiet. Richard says, trying to decide which speaker to pair with my 1936 Marshall 212. That's one of those Marshall, horizontal 212s. Currently has a G1275 and a new G12H 30 watt 70th anniversary. You're playing hard rock and metal? Yeah, I would probably just do V30s. A 75 is kind of a cool speaker for, I don't actually mind them. They have a certain sound. Not a huge fan of the G12H 30 watt 70th. They sound a little ice picky to me. You could try pairing the 75 with the V30, or just go two V30s, honestly. It's kind of a tried and true, just it's a basic sort of staple of hard rock and metal. So I know it's kind of like the boring thing to say maybe, but you could go for it and see what you think. Is there a traditional style telly bridge that works best for covering a humbucker routed telly? I don't know. That's a good question. Be a good question for a tech. Yeah, without looking at the dimensions of the humbucker route and everything, it's hard to say, but I understand what you want to do. Yeah, I can't. Sorry, I just don't know. I would probably look at stuff from Wilkinson and look for the most vintage. I like Wilkinson's vintage take on vintage bridges. They're doing cool things. Like, for example, they make a traditional Strat bridge, a 54 style with a block that seems really accurate, which is kind of hard to find. And so I would look to them and make sure, just the saddles and all that, the vintage style, and try and look if you can get the dimensions of it and see if there's some super chats there I got to get to. I'm going to grab those in just a sec here. But do you ever go tubeless on stage? On this tour, I got no tubes. It's a neural-based rig, neural quad cortex. The reason that I'm doing that, as I brought up before, is mainly because we've got 3 fly dates on this tour. It's a total of about maybe 22 or 3 dates, something like that. And the most of it is in this bus, but then there's a few that I'm flying out to. And those ones, I don't want to deal with changing my rig, different presets, different whatever. I like getting used to a certain flow of how to use my gear and how it sounds. I don't like going on the fly. So I've got presets for every song on this tour, and I just wanted to keep that consistent. So I'm using the neural with the Matrix power amp that I actually borrowed from Steve Stevens, because my other Matrix popped a fuse and there's something wrong with the power supply on it. So I'm using that. A couple 112s on stage, XLRs out of the neural going to the house for speaker sim, and that's my rig on this. And I'm not afraid to go tubeless sometimes, even though I'm a big tube amp fan. Richard says, "Here's for the lunch fund." Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you to all you guys for being here and being a part of this. Michael, super sticker. Thank you, my friend. You guys are too kind. Keeping the coffee flowing. Appreciate it. This is a good question. Is green glue a scam? That's the stuff you use in between layers of drywall in a studio. I don't know, but I'm with you. I want to know whether it is or not, and I'm not sure because I bought a lot. I spent $900 on green glue or something. They wanted to spend. The guys that were building my room were like, "Let's get more. We need more just in case." And I'm like, "How much?" Like $1,600. I'm like, "How many tubes? I don't think we need that much. Can we not order that much and then get more if we need it? Or we can just return it." I'm like, no, just I don't want to deal with returning things. This is taking me right back to the anxiety of spending money. And I was like, let's just order this much. And we ordered it. And you know what? We ended up with 1 tube left over. So I was right. You guys want to get how much green glue? I'm not made of money. It's finite. Anyways, it's just glue that it's green, and you put it in between the, and they squirt it in between the drywall, and then they put up the drywall. But you're like, well, it's not really like covering the whole it's not like it's like a wall of green goo that then they put the, it's literally like you're kind of putting it in a pattern on the thing, and then they just put up the other, and you're like, well, it's not even like really like covering the whole. How can it be absorbing that? I'm like, it seems like, you see like rock wool or whatever that stuff is, or 703 or whatever, the insulation. They go, okay, I get that. That's definitely dampening sound, but that goo looks like green glue because that's what it is. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, who knows? Yeah, and you were saying, did you use green glue? Yes, $900 of green glue. Okay, what else we got? You changing strings daily? I change strings on my main guitar or guitars every 3 gigs. If I use a guitar for 3 shows, that's it. Then I'm going to change it. That's my rule. So I changed yesterday on my red one. I changed a few gigs ago on my silver one, but they're basically brand new because I'm mainly playing the red one on this tour. They're very, very, very close, but there's just something about the red one. I don't know what it is. Love the silver one too, but yeah. How big of a difference in sound does the wood of cabinet construction make? That's a great question. That's another thing that only an A/B comparison would tell us, right? Does like a real birch? Hey, what's up? Does the real birch back? That's tour manager, Seth. Does a real birch back really sound different in a Marshall cabinet than a MDF or whatever? Whatever they call it, particle board back. When they switch to those, I don't know. I've never done the actual comparison. So to me, I've got an old blockhead cabinet that is exactly patterned after a old Marshall 1968, basket weave style. That cab sounds great. I remember I got it from Gene at Ultrasound in New York. He's a real aficionado of this kind of stuff, and he said, they made it tight, but not too tight. Like, the more modern cabinets where there's like a lot of batting on the inside, Bogner cabinets have that stuff where they're all dead and down on the inside. Maybe that's really good for metal, but there's something about the old Marshall cabs. They weren't braced too much, and they were there's a little bit of a looseness to them, a life to them. It's maybe not the tightest sounding cabinet in the world, but you know what I'm saying. So, anyways, I think there's something to that, and so yeah, I if like I was having one build, I would say build it like they did in 1968, like build with the whatever multi-ply birch, as opposed to MDF stuff. Doesn't it seem like it's more resonant, like the other stuff seems like it's very dead? Maybe that's a good thing, I don't know, but it seems to me like wood. I mean, if you're making drums out of birch, it's got a little more snap and life to it. I don't know. Do I sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about? I don't really. It's a lot of this is just like making it up as I go along, but that's what most of us do, right? That's why I like to try things, though. I like to try things. The one thing I know is that I don't like the batting on the inside. I like the cabinet to be as a little, like, not super tight braced. That always made sense to me, and somewhat alive. The one thing you will notice is like rear mounted speakers as opposed to front mounted, in cabinets. Like a lot of 112s, they'll mount the speaker in the front, or if they're screwed in the back of the baffle in the front, right? That has a different sound to me. Definitely. I don't know if I can exactly describe what I'm hearing, but the rear mounted does have a darker kind of more, I don't know. It's like, I mean, that's the way a Marshall cabinet is. It's like a 412. When you mount the speaker in the front, it sounds a little more in your face. like in a 112, like a Bogner 112, for instance. I always really liked those, and I think they maybe made the 112 that has the most in common with a 412, the little Bogner cube with the ports, and that's what he was going for. I know that was a real, like a 412 in a 112 kind of sound, and I think he really got that. It's a little darker and a little more like it sounds a little more rock or something, whereas the let's take like the Sir 112s, what I'm using out here, the way they mount the speakers and stuff sounds a little more forward, but a little more open maybe or something. But if you want that sort of more darker sort of metal or rock punch, there's something about the Bogner Q. So there's it's just a different sound. It depends what you want. Uh-oh. There he is. How'd you do?
Great.
Sean Hurley, ladies and gentlemen, legendary bass player. That guy is master of disaster with 4 strings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's disastrous when I pick it up.
He's got the tone in his
Right
hands.
here, right? It's
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that at some point, because I still need a bass lesson on how to get even
We will do it.
with the 2 fingers.
Yep,
Do you
we're gonna
mainly
do
use
that.
2 fingers?
Only 2, and a lot of times just 1.
Is it really?
If I want, think of it as downstrokes, upstrokes.
Oh.
This is my downstroke, and then this is my upstroke. So
Ah,
if I don't want to, the world is watching.
yeah.
If I don't want to have any, if I want all downstrokes, I do
One finger.
Yeah, and then if I want to, if it's fast and I need, there's no way to do it, or if I want
Are
to
we live?
introduce some of that,
Yeah.
I'll do
This is live.
alternate.
And did you?
This
This
conversation-
conversation
It's
is
live to this right here.
Yeah. There's so don't pull your pants down.
Nobody's asking what size sticks I use or.
Yeah. What kind of felts do you use, man?
We'll be
You want
back.
to talk about your beaters? What
That's
kind
what,
of beaters do you use?
that's what she said.
That's Randy Cook. That's the band. There's a little bit of knowledge there from Sean Hurley, legendary bass player. He's fantastic. Like he's one of those guys that can pick up a bass and just go ball, and it's got like the bloom to the note, and it sounds exactly like it's like, why can't I pick up the bass and do that the same? And drums too. Like, you ever try and hit a drum and make it sound like a drummer if you're a guitar player? Like, I don't. The action with the stick is, they look like they're not even trying. The drum just goes, and when I do it, it just sounds choked. It's interesting. But the touch on an instrument, it's all in the hands. It's all in the hands. Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Let's see. You guys are talking about strings a little bit. Slinkies. Yeah, I use the Primo Slinkies, which are 9.5. Love them. I should go down to the bottom of the chat and see what you guys are talking about. Let's see. I'm missing a lot here. Let's see. Had I known when you were in Massachusetts, I would have tried to see you. I'm sorry. If anybody wants to see the remaining dates on the tour, it's all on fiveforfighting.com. Come on out and see a show if you like. Love to have you out. Let's see. Sean Hurley's old Fender bass is killer. Yeah, and he's got his own Fender signature model, which is what he's using out here. He has 2 of them. A beautiful kind of, it's not Inca silver, it's more of a charcoal frost, I think would be the color. A gorgeous looking bass. And as well as a kind of an off, like an Olympic that's super yellowed. He's got that out. That's second out here. So he's a badass, like unbelievable. Yeah. Holy crap, Sean Hurley. Yeah, he's a monster bass player. What else we got here? Let's see. Front loaded sounds tighter to me. Maybe. Yeah, Steven says maybe tighter. To me, it's a bit more in your face, but not in a traditional old 412 way, which sounds a little darker. It's like darker versus more in your face, brighter or something. Yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. I know I keep saying that. I'm just looking at all your stuff you guys are talking about. This is I've known a couple guys that had these. I wonder how an old Marshall 810 with 412-inch speakers would sound. How a Marshall 810 with 412s. Well, that I don't know. I was just thinking you were saying, I wonder how a Marshall 810 would sound, which are cool. Those 810 cabinets are just so cool looking, but you don't see them around that much. But you certainly see them more commonly than the original 812s, like Pete Townsend used. They probably only made like 10 of those or something. Yeah. Oh, here's from Lauren. Lauren would be a good resource for this. What has he got to say? Green glue puts a tiny separation between sheets of drywall and converts sound energy to heat. So a little more like an air gap, right? That makes sense to me. I mean, if it's actually got a gap there, because it creates a space, tiny space, then yeah, I guess that's absorbing a little bit of sound, right? I will say, like, I've got in my wall, I've got 3 sheets of drywall on one side and 2 sheets on the other side of a wall that's packed with, whatever the sound absorbing insulation stuff that they used, and it's pretty damn good. I mean, it turned out good, so I'm not sad that I did it, but yeah. Shooting the green is the correct choice, says Hobo Roadie. Well, I'm with you then. I'm glad I did it. And Lauren says green glue is not a scam, but maybe overrated. Other design elements are more effective. Green glue for that extra few percent. That's cool. Good. There's always knowledge in this place. I like it that I don't have. If an E string breaks on one guitar, not others, is it the nut? If it keeps breaking in the same place, I would look at where that's happening. Be it bridge saddle. If you break at the nut, that's really weird. But I've had things like that happen before. I've had strings break in the middle. Like, it's so weird. Like 10th fret break. Like, really? Like, just a weird string. So. Interesting. Okay, what else you guys talking about? Zed says he's had quality issues with Ernie balls. Went back to D'Addario's. Still love Markley Blue Steels, but hard to find. Yeah, Dean Markley is not a string that you really see out there that much anymore. My original string endorsement was Markley's. I was trying to remember. I went Markley's to DR's, and then I went DR to Ernie Ball. I've been with Ernie Ball ever since. Very happy with them. Yeah. Yeah. Will keeping my 5-watt champ clone on the 1-watt attenuation hurt the amp in the long run? It is loud. No, it won't hurt the amp. You made an attenuator. Is it like a resistive attenuator that just kind of brings it down the volume? It should be fine. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. It shouldn't hurt anything. You will maybe use tubes faster, because you're attenuating and then you're cranking it up more to get the sound you want, and then you're hit. Is a treble booster the best boost for a Plexi style amp? Well, there's no best for anything, but some people love a Klon, with the volume up and the drive down low. That's essentially boosting. An Echoplex style boost is great into a Plexi. That new superconductor, I believe it's called, this Crazy Tube Circuits, check that out, because that thing will do anything. It'll do Rangemaster, EP, ZVEX super hard on, or a microamp style boost into the front end of a Plexi. So if you watch that video, you can hear a bunch of the different sounds I got with it. It's so versatile. But I love a Coco boost into a Plexi too. I have that on my board right now. The Coco boost, it's a great sounding pedal, because then you get clean boost and mid boost in one pedal. The original treble boosts, like a Rangemaster, really won't work, in my opinion, into the volume 1 or bright input on a traditional Marshall. Might work into a super bass style Plexi, because they don't have as much bright cap stuff, bright sound going on the volume 1 input. But into a 4700 picofarad bright cap Marshall, 69 style or 68. It's really not going to work. It's going to be too much treble. Into the volume 2, it's instant Judas Priest. So that's what they use. It's a great sound. It's very reminiscent of Black Sabbath too. He just did the same thing, but on a Laney. Now the superconductor, that pedal does sound great with the Rangemaster setting, but with some bass added in. It's got a 2-position bass cut switch. The original Rangemasters were super bass lopped off, no bass. And that's, that was their job, boost the treble, and it kind of evens out the murky sound that you got out of a Vox normal channel or out of a Marshall on the normal channel. It sounds kind of farty when you turn it on. There's no high ends, bloated. The treble booster just solves that problem. But the bass boosted sound, or less bass cut is probably what it is. Rangemaster on the superconductor, you can listen to that. It sounds great into a Marshall Plexi. So I noticed when I got this Cornish version of a treble booster that was made, you can still get one now. They're like $600, I think. It's a 2-channel Rangemaster style, but they do have more bass. So Brian May evidently used those in the 70s. Once Queen got famous, he started using this Cornish gear and stuff. And Pete Cornish made him a version of the treble booster, and it does have more low end than the original Rangemaster. So your mileage may vary. You just have to try them. It's very amp dependent. Your Marshall, if you got a JTM 45, it's got 100 PF bright cap. It's going to work differently than a 68 Plexi with a 4700. You can switch the bright cap, and then you can get a different tone balancing recipe. It just depends. So down to the bottom. Let's see. Are you going to be demoing the new Andy Timmons pedal? Do you mean the delay? I did it already. The Halo. It's on my channel. One of my favorite new delay pedals that I've heard in a long time. Really great. Why isn't your name on the Ernie Ball legendary players list? That pisses me off. You should write him an email from me. No, I don't consider myself to be a legendary player. I'm just a working schmo. I mean, those guys are like Slash and Albert Lee, and the guys that I was, who else? Steve Morse, all the long-time Ernie Ball dudes. I was reading Steve Morse articles when I was like 15, guitar player. Listening to him, High Tension Wires and all those records were coming out and stuff. And I was getting influenced by that stuff. Those guys are, it's kind of funny. At NAMM this year, Two Notes was there, and they had a bunch of pictures up on their wall, and I was right beside George Lynch, and it said Tone Legends or something, and it was my picture and George's, and I sent a picture to him, and I said, I'm friendly with George Lynch, and I sent a picture to him, and I said, who's more handsome, And he said, well, something like, it depends if you like old guys or not, and then he said, when did you become a legend? I was like, but no, he's right. He's right. It was funny. He's constantly taking the piss out. He's hilarious. I like George a lot. He's a funny dude. But anyways, what else we got here? Have used the Halo in a stereo rig. In my demo, I did it in stereo. You can hear it. And I did the thing that I was saying earlier where I split it out of the Halo into my interface into inputs 1 and 2, and I used plugins, I think, in the video, and you can really tell that it's a great way to show off what a pedal sounds like in stereo. Albert Lee is a force of nature. He certainly is, man. He was one of the guys, like, I'm not a country player, but man, I picked up some licks from his courses. Like I had an Albert Lee great book with like a cassette with all the licks broken down, one of those REH or something. Unbelievable player, and yeah, that dude's a legend, yeah, for sure. It's amazing. I mean, I guess as time goes on, if you're in the industry, I suppose for 20 years, maybe then you become like, at what point do you, just because those guys, like, I guess, like, when we consider, like, it's really about the body of work, maybe. you know, when you look at guys that have played on a million records and been on a ton of songs and just done tours with like somebody like Albert or, you know, Steve that have been making records since the 70s or something. But there's got to be players, I suppose, if I worked a little harder and played on more records, you know, or put out more records, you know, if you do it for 30 years or something, and then you've been on this, you know, like whatever, you know, maybe at some point people talk about you like, oh, he's a legend, you know. It's a weird thing, you know. To me, legend is like Eddie Van Halen and you know, Angus Young and David Gilmour and, like, you know, those guys, you know, those are the true, you know. Anyways, what happened to the red Strat style guitar you used to use a year ago with the Torch pickguard? I still have it. It's a little noisy. I want to try and get, I want to do a little pickup swap in it, or get the SSC installed, and then I'll use it more. Because I just found it's a great guitar and it's really fun and everything, but I want to get a little bit more noise canceling out of it. Like my, you know, I would need to have like my new guitar. That guitar was like a stepping stone to what my new signature model is almost. So I would need to have some of the features like the SSC and maybe the exact pickup configuration that I've got in my new guitar in it. So you're making me think, because it's a really beautiful guitar and I should take it out there and get them to do all that stuff to it to make it so it performs just like my, not that it's a great guitar as it is, but we can get it a little quieter. And I like the pickup combo I'm using in my guitar now and stuff. So yeah. Hollywood Actress is asking about how different a 50 space bridge compared to a 52 or 54 millimeter bridge. I mean, you're basically talking about Gibson or Fender spacing. I don't really notice. I must say I don't really notice the wider spacing. Like, whoa, the pick feels different on a guitar. Wider spacing for me is generally something I notice more on acoustics. Like when it's this guitar is more a finger style guitar, they'll talk about in acoustic world because it's got a wider spacing so your fingers can get, you know, that kind of thing I'll notice, I guess. But I don't really notice it on electrics, like a Les Paul to a Strat being, it's narrower, so it's harder or easier. Do you guys notice that? Like, it doesn't really bother me. I can go either way as far as the spacing goes. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Lynch says, when did you become a legend? To be honest, you're all legends in different genres. Tim Pierce, Tom Bukovac. Tom's a wonderful player. I really enjoy his playing. I was speaking with my friend John Fields. He's a great producer. He produced a lot of, did like Jonas Brothers and like Switchfoot back in the day. Anybody remember? Switchfoot's a great band from San Diego. He did the Switchfoot album and a bunch of other stuff I worked with him on. But anyway, he was singing the praises of Tom Bukovac the other day when he came out. We went to our Minneapolis area show and was talking about Tom and how great he is. I still never met Tom in person. I've talked to him like this on over video once, but I have great respect for him. Everybody, you know, he's obviously very musical. Do you think the material of pickup mounting spacers, spring versus rubber in a Strat, makes differences? I wouldn't. That's really getting geeky. I probably wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. A little spam in the chat there. I took care of that. I think it worked. Block user. Interesting. It's not working. I'm trying to block the spam that's going on. And it's an error occurred. Try refreshing the page. I don't want to refresh the page. I put them in timeout. Sorry about that, guys. Ben, I'll see if you. Ben blocked it. Got it. Cool. Thanks, Ben. That's why. It was already done. Have you heard anything about an upcoming firmware update for the aux? That's from Tim. I haven't. Is there something new coming? I haven't. Maybe you've heard something I haven't. Or maybe you're just asking. But Ape Shoot says 145 likes. Put them up. Yeah, hit the like if you don't mind. If you guys are out there, if you're liking. If you're not, then don't. helps the everything. Okay, Vincent's saying that somebody's Guitar 365 got hacked. He got sucked into what he thought was a very legitimate sponsorship opportunity. It looked legit. I don't do any of that stuff. If any of you guys do YouTube or, you get these offers sometimes, hey, we'd like to partner with you to bring you more subscribers. And I just don't do any of it. I don't want to know about it. I do what, I don't want to give any kind of control or anything over to, anyone when it comes to YouTube and any of my social media. I just do it myself. That's worked well for 15 years. So downloaded software he was supposed to demo, and it completely replicated his browser, bypassing two-factor authentication and completely killed his channel. That's really bad, man. Wow, that sucks. It's scary. Yeah, I mean, any kind of downloading software, any kind of offers from when you do what I do, you get a lot of, like there's a lot of stuff that comes in my inbox every day. Hey, just wondering if you saw our offer. We'd like to partner with you to blah, blah, blah. And I don't look at any of it unless it's from a reputable pedal manufacturer or, certainly software manufacturer, somebody I've heard of, or it seems like, it's out there in the world. It's reputable. I don't take a lot of like unsolicited sort of like, because you never know, right? Like, and I don't have an interest. Have you seen the Derek Trucks interview with Rick Beato? I started watching a little bit and then I couldn't watch the rest, but I'll go back to it and check it out for sure. Wow, somebody left me a really big super chat. Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you guys for all your super chats and stuff this week. Really appreciate it. Keeps the coffee beans flowing. I'm going to grab those super chats in 2 seconds here. Have you been feeling that heavy rock and roll vibe and wanting to create some angry original songs? I wouldn't say angry. I wouldn't say angry. Angry. Man, it's a tough world we live in right now. It's crazy, it was one of the reasons I love doing this, because I forgot all about it for an hour or whatever until now. It's beautiful out here. And, good today. So, but it is nice to hear some people making some more, poignant. I'm on a tour right now with a guy. Andrazek is a very topical songwriter, let's say, and he's very active in certain causes that he feels passionate about. And it's nice to be out with somebody that's like that, because you see the response every night. It's a little bit like, the show's a little bit of VH1 Storytellers. He gets into the songs and where they came from. And it's nice because he'll spell out what the song's about and then he sings it. And people, it's amazing. He gets like 2-3 standing ovations every night. And people are just really, it's lyrics that are poignant, or they mean something. It's and it's nice to be out with somebody like that, because a lot of stuff is kind of nebulous or not. So look at Randy. Look at Randy Cook.
This is my Muppet.
Do your animal. Headed to the bus?
Huh?
Headed to the bus?
Yeah.
Bring me something. Bring me a present.
Yeah, okay.
Bring me a present.
All right.
From the fridge. Anything. You pick. Okay. I'm going to grab those super chats immediately here. There was a $5 one that vanished, so I'm going to grab it. I'm sorry about that. I'm not going to miss it. Recently purchased a PRS. Silver Sky comes with a PRS gig bag. Do nicer guitars come with hard shell cases anymore? It depends on the instruments. The truss rod wrench doesn't fit. That's weird. That's very strange. A lot of people moving toward gig bags these days. There's no, to be honest, a lot of people I kind of prefer a gig bag because cases are like a pain in the ass, and a lot of people use gig bags these days. So it's like, well, let's give them what they want, and it might be a little less expensive and cumbersome for us to, it's like not a bad thing, I don't think. But man, a lot of guitars show up with nothing. They'll show up in a box, like cardboard box inside a shipping box, and you pull it out and the guitar's in a box. It's like, wow, okay, it's just a box. But whatever, I guess, you know. I don't use, to be honest, a lot of the cases that I got with guitars. I use these SKB I series cases because they're amazing for, you know, they're like you drop them off the top of a building, your guitar will probably be okay. So, you know, I've got my cases, my hard shells that I use that are rock solid. When I'm taking a guitar somewhere, I put it in one of those, and the other cases end up going into storage and you never use them. So maybe guitar makers were, you know, getting on that tip or whatever, realizing that. Anyways, okay. What's going on, Pete? Hope life is being good to you. Thank you, Pariah. What's up? How you doing? Great maker of pickups. Terrific pickups coming from Canada, I do believe, right? Awesome. Awesome. Tom says, where is Pete? I'm in Massachusetts, not too far from Boston. At the, I think it's called the South Coast. Oh, I hope I got the South Coast Music Fair. I think that's right. Have you? Okay, let's see other comments, questions here. Here's a drink on me, man. That's at least a double shot of Don Julio 1942 right there. I would say, Bill. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Appreciate you. Thank both of you guys for super chats. Thank you. Appreciate it. Every little bit helps. How good of a clean sound can you get out of this SL68? Really good. You know what I've been doing lately is I've been bridging the channels, jump ring. That'll drop the gain a little bit when you do that. And just because it sucks a little gain when you run the jumper cable. And if you turn up the volume 1 input to about, well, okay, it depends on your SL68. If you don't have a bright cap, your mileage may vary with this approach. It can be a little darker sound than you might want. But you can turn the bright volume up to about 2, and then the normal channel you can have on about 5, and then you get a really, really nice clean sound. Now, I've got a couple of mods done to my SL68 where I can switch the bright cap from no bright cap to 100 to 4700. So that's like none, JTM 45, late 60s metal panel, you know, sort of amp. And I find with that, you know, the bright cap makes it more aggressive, but if you do the blend thing where you just bring up the bright a little bit and then you're mostly using the normal channel, you get this great blended clean thing. With the jump ring, you lose a little gain. Other trick is run the mid down lower, below 5, you know. The lower you run the tone controls, the less gain you get because the EQ on an old Marshall's lossy. So you can turn down those controls. You kind of get your bright out of it, especially if you got a 4700 bright cap, you kind of get your bright out of the input 1, bring that up, and it gets to the point where, oh, it's a little ice picky, let's bring it back, you know, and then it's like you get this great sound then when you balance it with the normal, and it's amazing clean sound in my opinion. So yeah. So what power amp are you using now? I'm using a Matrix. It's a 1600, I think. It's a dual 800, 2 rack space. It's Steve Stevens. I had to borrow it from him because my other one blew up. So I've got that out. And then if I have a problem, we've actually got some Seymour Duncan power stages out here, which are the, you know, 200 watt power stage. I've got Sean actually tried mine and he liked it for something. So he ordered Seymour Duncan sent him a couple. So we have 3 out here. I guess in theory, if I had the Matrix went down or something, I'd still have my lines to the PA, so I'd be cool. I could finish a show or whatever, but then I could use the Duncans. So Duncans for spares, I guess, right now, and the Matrix in the rack for this tour. That's what I'm using. Yeah. Yeah. Vincent says the poor guy never takes the opportunities either. He had like 1.7 million followers. Wow, that's crazy. That's like exponentially more than I have, you know. And it screwed up his channel. That really sucks. But he should be able to build it back. A guy like that's got that many followers, you know, you would hope that he could start a new channel, you know, and just be like, hey, everybody, I'm over here. Put out the word. Tell everybody to come back and subscribe. Probably within a year or something, he would be back up to, you know, I don't think it's like what'd you bring me? Wow, selection of beverages. Look at this guy. Really? You're just going to leave them all? Well, I've got my pick. Cold brew. I think I've had enough coffee. Although that's pretty good. I should maybe sample that, see what that's all about. I could probably use some of this. See, band camaraderie, fantastic. I love it. Let's see. What else you guys talking about? Switchfoot is a fantastic band. I was talking about Switchfoot a few minutes ago. Matt Beckley is my buddy. I think you might be the guy that helped them with all their guitar tones. You, of course, know our good friends, John Fields, our mutual friend. Matt Beckley's a guitarist, producer, engineer extraordinaire that lives in the Los Angeles general area and sometimes meets me for beverages and food at our favorite watering holes. Switchfoot, great band. I agree. Really good songs. Hey, doing a live stream. That's my boss, Mr. John Andrazek.
This is my guitar hero and many other things. Hello, everybody. Grateful to have him with us. I wish you could see him every night. Incredible.
Thanks, John. You have a good walk?
I did.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
See you in a bit.
Have a good stream.
He's a good man. I first toured with John 20 years ago. 2001 to 2002. So 21 years ago. And when I joined Five for Fighting back then, it was right after a concert for New York. He played the song Superman at the concert for New York. The song was widely seen as kind of an anthem for first responders and, firefighters and police officers and folks that went down to the Twin Towers and many of them didn't come back. And so the song just was, it was a beautiful song, simple, beautiful song. And right when I joined, it was October 2001. So I consider it like I did a lot of really good gigs leading up to then, but the Five for Fighting gig was a stepping stone for me where I felt like, I'm on a fast moving train that seems to be, we ended up touring with Goo Goo Dolls and Sheryl Crow. And he had a song that was really poignant and it spoke to people. And that's what's at. It's great songwriting, with great lyrics. He's an old school songwriter that taps into the real thing, what people like in music. And that's why his songs have persevered, I think. Stood the test of time. So, and he's still writing them, He's a good cat. Let's see. I know you feel quads working very well anytime on tour. Have you found yourself missing the tubes? That's an interesting question. It's the quad is a funny thing to me because I love tube amps so much and I always will, but there is something about the rig where it's just like it feels great, like, to be honest. And I'm like, it's almost like you don't want to like it as much as you do. Coming from a tube amp guy, I know that's a big admission, and also like a real true endorsement. But man, the way I have it configured on stage with the cabs and then go into the PA, I did very little tweaking, and it's just like, well, I'll send a couple outputs out to the power amp and the cabs. I'll send the XLRs to the house. Let's plug it in and see how it works. Well, that sounds good. And everybody's like, man, that sounds great. Like, plugged it in. Randy did drums. He was like, God, that sounds good, man. Like, day one. It was never discussed since then, and I've just been using it. And it's like little tweaks, I need a little more gain on this sound or a little more. But, yeah, that's my honest, like, it just really works well, I'll always use the tube amps. I love them. I got a great compliment from Rod Castro, who's out playing guitar with TLC right now. He plays with Beyonce, terrific guitar player. He got a PT 15, and he says it's the best sound he's had on stage and in his in-ears ever, he thinks. So he used it, first gig, he was like, this is amazing. And I think he mainly uses channel 1, and then he loaded up a York IR. He liked the Creamback speaker into the amp. And he's using pedals in front of the clean channel, I think, mainly to get all his different sounds. And he's very happy. So, that's awesome. And I'll be using my PT15s, my amps for a long time to come. But I do what is required for the gig. You know, if I got to fly around a lot, get on airplanes, and it's harder and harder these days. I'm going to take something that I know is going to sound great and be consistent. I can get all my sounds, and So, yeah. Ernie Ball is moving to mono gig bags. Mono gig bags are great. I mean, they're high quality gig bag. I mean, wouldn't you rather kind of have a mono gig bag for your guitar than a case like your average? You know, the one thing I always hated, like even the Sur cases, they're a good case, but you stand them up and they fall over, because they're so narrow, you stand them, they can't stand them on end. And it's like, oh God, the guitar's always falling down. And I prefer the gig bags, and Sur's been shipping with bags. People just use them more, So I think if, 90% of the time you're carrying the guitar around in a gig bag, and then the time you go get on a plane, you use a case, maybe if you're going to put it in the hold. The gig bag makes the most sense, and then buy one case that's a better than what, like, I've done it, but I wouldn't really fly my guitar, in a standard, like, would you put a Les Paul in the case that the standard Gibson? No. Like on a plane? No. I take it in a, either an I series, or I've got some old ANS road cases. I won't put a Les Paul. So the case, like the average case that a company would ship with a guitar, kind of useless in my mind, So, are DoD pedals overrated, or is Ben delusional? DoD made some great pedals, man. I mean, the original preamp, the DoD FX whatever, is kind of a microamp style, but it had I think it was a tone control on it, so it was kind of like a microamp with a tone. I think, my memory of it. I loved that thing back in the day for boosting the amp. It was great. I had one in the 80s. The OD250, cool pedal, part of Ingve's sound. They made some cool stuff. Some really good stuff. God, floaters. Hard to read. What do you like best about this gig? Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is just the camaraderie. Like, it's a really nice group of people. As you've seen, if you've been on the stream for most of it, you've seen the guys. It's nice. It's nice traveling family of people. It's we all just do our jobs, and so that's the best thing, because that's the 22 hours of the day that you're not on stage. If that's a pain, then it doesn't matter how good the music is. So it's second to that, the music's fun to play. I mean, I love playing John's songs and finding my slot within them to, do my thing. And every night, once again, playing songs with great lyrics, poignant lyrics, that's really great for me. Greetings from Croatia. What's happening? Home of my friend Yogi Lana. She's over there somewhere. Yeah, unless it's a flight case for touring, just easier to use gig bags. Yeah, I only fly. Ben says only fly with flight cases. Me too. And I don't bother trying to do gig bags on planes anymore. I just don't bother. I just put the guitar in the hold. I don't want to mess around with. Oh, you can't bring that on board. We're going to have to gate check it and all that. That just gives me anxiety. So just put it, just check it. I don't fly with guitars that if I was like, I don't know about like my old 335 or something, and I want to fly some. No, I'm not going to take it. I'll take another guitar. Guitar I can feel good about, that it's not going to get damaged. Evan says the rubberneck is cool. That's an analog delay from DoD. I agree. I did a video on it. I really like that pedal. I thought it was a unique lo-fi analog affair. Really cool. Yeah. What else we got? Ben says anyone who has a DoD they want to part with, hit me up. Good pedals, man. Greetings from Morris in Colorado. Red Rocks rocks. That's awesome. Red Rocks, such a great venue. I would love to play there again sometime. Beautiful place. It's been a long time since I played there. I don't know, what else are you guys talking about? We got more BS in the chat. Ben probably blocked it already. Let's give it a go. Yeah, I think he did. Okay. Isn't it funny? Like, where does that crap come from? It's just like, is there bots just surfing the internet, internet, YouTube, looking for live streams to put their weird posts on? Crazy. Leather pants, a bygone thing, or rock and roll never dies? I'm gonna say rock and roll never dies, man. If you want to put on the leather pants, just rock it. Go for it. In this heat, though, no. You can only have one. Marshall hand-wired 100-watt or Sir SL68. Honest answer, definitely the SL68. I'll tell you why. Nothing wrong with the Marshall hand-wired, but if you ask Dave Friedman about them, he'll be like, yeah, it's pretty good. They're pretty good. I think maybe he thinks the transformer could be better. I don't know what he's basing that on, but that's just his, and with some tweaks for sure, they could sound absolutely amazing. I mean, even a Marshall SLP, the standard, PC board version could be a fantastic amplifier with a few little tweaks. Even out of the box, it sounds pretty darn good, pretty damn good. So, but what the SL68 gives you is a great post-phase inverter master, which is really useful for turning the amp down to 8 or 7, and now it's gig volume, like perfect. You're not getting like, oh my god, that you're gonna have to turn down. No, like with a good medium to loud volume drummer and a bass player, you can bring that master down to 7, and you're good. It's just like, that's great sound. You put the knobs wherever you want. And then the low power, the Variac thing, which I use it in all the time. So, I would need an extra Variac with the, an external. And then if I wanted to run at high power, I wouldn't be able to without rebiasing. So the fact that the SIR gives you hand-wired, super reliable, the dual tap power transformer that gives you the 90 volt or 120 volt setting and a post-phase master. And now I've got a switch on there to switch to the bright caps. It's got stuff on there that just makes it into a whole different ball game as far as versatility goes. So don't think twice, like just get an SL68 in my opinion. That's my opinion. Ben Tom says, are you playing any of the music John did with the Ukrainian orchestra on this tour? So John does it. What he's doing is actually playing the song. So it's a song called Can One Man Save the World? And he plays it with the audio of the Ukrainian orchestra. So we've got the recording of the orchestra, and he plays piano, and Randy plays a little bit of cymbal swells and stuff like that. I don't play. Sean doesn't play. There's enough going on with the orchestra and the piano, and it's really great. So the story is John Andrazek got involved in. He's involved with a group called Save Our Allies, which is a great organization that works towards helping people. Humanitarian organization works towards helping people in difficult war zones and things like that, where there's citizens and people in harm's way. These people go in. There's a lot of special forces kind of dudes and stuff, and ex vets, and they go there and they're actually like help people get the hell out of there, basically, to safety. And so John's deeply involved with them, and he had written this song called "Can One Man Save the World?" It's about Ukraine. What happened was he contacted the Save Our Allies folks and said, "Can I go to Poland, maybe?" And thought it'd be. Poland's they've taken in millions of refugees and stuff during this whole crisis, people that need help. And he said, "Could I go to Poland possibly, and film this video and record with the Polish orchestra, the Polish national orchestra, that kind of thing? Could I make that happen and go there because they've been such a big part of this?" And they said, "What about doing it with the Ukrainian orchestra?" And John was like, "How can it's like a war zone? How can there be a Ukrainian orchestra right now? Is that even a thing?" And they said, "Let me get back to you." And then, long story short, within a couple of days, he had a plane ticket to go to Krakow, and he ends up in Kyiv a couple of days later and filmed the video. So you can go watch the video. It's on YouTube. Search for "Five for Fighting: Can One Man Save the World?" featuring the Ukrainian orchestra, and check it out. It's unbelievable because they did the video at an airport outside Kyiv, where there's this plane called the Maria, which is this sort of symbol of Ukrainian independence, and it's the biggest cargo plane ever made. Amazing engineering feat and all that. and that plane and that airport was bombed in the opening stages of the whole conflict, and in a kind of psychological warfare, an attempt to kind of destroy the will of the people, really, through destroying a physical object. And the whole point of the video, I think, is to go there with the orchestra and sit there in the in the rubble of this whole crazy, and they're playing this song, and so it's the orchestra basically symbolizes the people of the country, and they're the defiance of and that strong people, that kind of thing. And so it's an unbelievable video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really moving. So that's the audio that you hear at the show. If you come to the show, John plays a song, the audio of the orchestra. And it's all about forget about politics, and it's about people, and people, that's what the Save Our Allies organization is all about. It's about helping people that are in need. So I think it's a great cause, absolutely, no matter what, and I'm way behind it. And it's just it's about saving lives, helping people, helping families, people in need. So I have a lot of feelings about that stuff, obviously, outside of politics and all that, outside of I'll give you an example without getting, I don't want to get political, it's a guitar show, but I'll just give you an quick example of something where I was really moved, which was going to Hiroshima and going to the museum there, and the installations that they have dedicated to what happened there. Obviously, one of the sites of the only atomic bomb ever being dropped on a place, right? Well, of course, it was allies against the Imperial Japan and all that. There was a lot of feelings about all that stuff. But what they've done there, if you actually go there, is they've focused on the humanitarian element, which is just people, everyday people living their lives. They don't have anything to do with politics. They're not in government, and how those kinds of conflicts affect people. And I've never been so, and I mean, it's just still, when I think about it now, it's like going to that and seeing what happened there and the effect on people, school kids, and just families. It's an unbelievable. It takes you outside of the conflict, and you realize the effect that these kinds of things have on people and families, and so anybody wanting to, outside of the political and everything else, anybody wanting to help people in need like that's incredible. Oh, here's a fellow from Poland. So yeah, you guys have been during this time absolutely, taking in all the refugees that you had, and being so supportive of the folks that are your neighbors. It's incredible. So Ben Tom says Eastern Europeans have always been great musicians. Fantastic. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So yeah, I've got a lot of Ukrainian friends. There's a big Ukrainian population in Canada. Randy's actually our drummer. He's part Ukrainian, and so one of my best friends in Edmonton growing up is Ukrainian. It's difficult, to think about those people and how they're dealing. But anyways, okay. Sorry, I'm getting way off. Richard says his grandmother was born in Hiroshima. It's an incredible city. I mean, maybe you've been there, Richard, and visited and stuff. It's such an amazing city because of obviously what happened and the way it's revitalized. It's a beautiful city now. It's an incredible city. And it's a unique city for Japan. Obviously born out of total tragedy in a really, really bad time. But you go there now, it's just, it's a moving place. If you ever go to Japan, go there, and it's what an incredible experience it was going there. I've been there two times, three times, I think, actually. Yeah, it's an incredible place. So there's a super chat that I need to grab. Let me see. thanks for the weekly guitar nerdery. Are you going to do a rig rundown from this run? Yes, I was mentioning that a little bit earlier. Thank you for your super chat, Brian. I really appreciate it. I'm doing a rig rundown. I started filming it yesterday, and I need to just download all the footage and stuff and check it out and then see what I've got and then maybe add a little more to it. But yeah, I'll get something out within a week or two. I've got a lot of stuff to edit. I've got a video for is it Zelza, the new it's a relatively new Strymon phaser pedal that also does chorusing and stuff, and the flanging. I've got to get that edited, as well as some stuff from the Sweetwater Gear Fest that I need to get to and stuff. So a ton of stuff to do. So I got to get on it and get all this stuff edited and get it out there. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got here. What are you guys talking about? If you haven't heard the song "Blossom and Blood" by Midnight Oil, Midnight Oil was definitely banned with a lot of, very. I mean, the singer's in politics now, right? And he's part of Parliament or something. Got very active in Australia. Shooting a video is easy. Editing is hard and time consuming. Yeah, when you're shooting, I find for anybody out there that does video and stuff like that in YouTube, the main thing is to try and think about it as you're shooting. Like, be frugal. If you're going to be the editor and you're also the camera person, you're also, you don't have to go crazy with extra angles and you can, but it's like you end up with more work in editing. So sometimes it's sort of more direct to the point. I mean, I try and not go too crazy with this stuff so that I'm not taking days and days and days to get things done. Any suggestions for headphone practice? I really like my my Boss Waza headphones. Those are really cool. If you haven't tried those, they're pretty great. They've got it's kind of next level headphone practice. They've got a wireless transmitter for a jack, whatever, a guitar, the Boss wireless transmitter, and you put that in the guitar, and then you put on the headphones, and you can, using an app, change the amp tones and do all kinds of different stuff. But they sound great. It's basically Boss Waza, think Katana, modeling, that kind of thing, the Waza modeling, the Katana modeling, whatever, and so it's really, really good. And you can Bluetooth it up to the phone and also stream tracks to it and stuff, so you can practice. I mean, it's kind of amazing. So check out the Boss Waza stuff. Beyond that, everything's got a headphone jack these days, pretty much any modeler. So you could use everything from an HX Stomp to, the Quad Cortex, great for that. That type of thing. Even the little Vox amp plug things are pretty cool. I'm not sure if that's what they're called, but the little Vox AC30, they're like $39.95. They sound pretty darn good. So, yeah. I wanted to commend you on your answer at the Sweetwater Roundtable a few ago about keeping family a priority when chasing dreams. First time I've heard a musician answer that way. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, the question was, knowing what you know now, what would be some good musical advice you could give to aspiring musicians that want to, pursue a career in music? And I've only got one answer for that, which is I left home at 19, and I moved to LA. And the way that I framed it was, if you had told me, this is sort of a, really hardcore, but I said, if you had told me that I would see my parents a finite number of times again in my life, and what if I was to say that number would be 17, 13? It depends how old your folks are and how old you are and stuff. But if you move away, you go home once a year, maybe, because you're a struggling musician, you can afford a plane ticket once a year, or maybe they come, you come far away, and you look at the age of the folks that you're leaving and whatnot, and then just as life, takes its turns and whatnot, what happens, you might only see those people another 20 times, or it depends how many times you go. If you go 3 times a year, now that doesn't become, it's not quite such a harsh reality. But I said that. I said, if you had told me I would see, because it was probably, I left in, I probably saw my parents, trips for 3 days at a time, 4 days, maybe a week, right? Another 15 times in my life. It's harsh. It's kind of harsh. Just keep that in mind and call home a lot. Obviously, we have FaceTime now. We got other ways we can stay in touch with people that I didn't have back then. But I said, just always be aware of it and go as much as you can. Go spend time with people. It could be just, it doesn't even have to be family. It could be friends, but people you care about. Make sure you keep those connections. And even though it's difficult if you move to a foreign country and can be expensive, make it happen. And you won't regret it later. And I had a guy from the Philippines come up to me that was there the next morning and say, man, in the airport actually. And he said, man, I really needed to hear that. And he said, I already booked a trip home. And I was like, wow, that means a lot to me. Because this is the one thing I learned, harsh reality, that was, he took it to heart and he's going to see his folks. So anyways, thanks for saying that, Stephen. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, let's see. I should probably go soon, guys, and get, I'm going to do some string changes and stuff. And Todd gives another vote for the Vox AC30 amp plug. That's, they're like $40 and really cool. Have you ever heard of Bandmade? These girls rock. They're from Japan. Yeah, I know that band. They're amazing. Crazy, fun Japanese. It's unlike anything you've ever seen, probably. So give it a listen. Bandmade, amazing. I've seen them live actually at. They were opening for Foo Fighters, I think, at Summer Sonic. It was fun. The crowd looked crazy. I was way up in it was like a stadium, and I was way up in the back, and you could see the whole just crazy energy. Mosh pit kind of situation. Okay. How about plugging in your rig when you get back so we can hear what it sounds like? We'll have board recordings. I took my little DJI camera that I got and I put it out the other day and just played a few sounds. So I'm going to listen to what I got and see how it sounds. This is for a little rig rundown I'm doing out here. And I'll add to that if I feel like I need to show more sounds and more what's going on with the tones and stuff. So yeah, I'll show you. I'll give you kind of fly on the wall sound samples. Not necessarily direct, but the DJI cam, what's coming out of my cabs on the stage, you'll hear that. And it sounds basically the same in the PA. It's just like with the speaker sims. So, you think Strymon will ever come out with smaller pedals? Geez, I don't know. I'm not sure. I really like Strymons, the format of their main smaller pedal, whatever, the regular size one. I think it's about perfect because it's a nice size box that you can put 2 foot switches on, and it's not cramped. So I will get this video for the Strymon mod pedal done within the next few days. Get that done and out because I need to get that out. Mike says, thanks, Pete. Have a great gig. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing tonight. Thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate it. We're about 1:52. I'll go in another 8 minutes. I'll go 2 hours and I'll get to work. Yeah. What else have we got? Congrats to my friend D. Thorpe on a Grammy for Foo Fighters. Awesome. If the cost is the same, Captor X or UA aux, I really don't care about the cost. Well, the UA does give you a resistive attenuator. You might find that useful or not. The Captor has kind of a one setting. It's an adjustable attenuator on the UA. The Captor has a one kind of attenuation setting. So your mileage may vary with that. You've got some options for effects in the Captor. I mean, reverb. There's a different set of stuff in there. The automatic doubling in the 2 notes is kind of interesting. You've got EQ in both. Just trying to think of the differences. Of course, with the 2 notes, you have a kind of a way wider selection of cabinet and microphone sounds, kind of infinitely variable mic sounds, and the artist collections and stuff. You don't have that with the aux, but the aux has some great built-in cabinet sounds. So I love the UA. I've used it on a lot of stuff. I like the Vox cab in it a lot. I use that. You know, the room mics are really cool in the UA. Very realistic sounding, really cool. So that's nice. They don't really do that in the two notes. You don't really have that room mic thing, but you do have nice sounding reverbs that you can get. So, you know, 6 1 half dozen the other, maybe, I don't know, you know. You can, of course, get my dyne IRs with the two notes, as well as Steve Stevens and Friedman, my friends, Lynch, you know. I find myself probably using the two notes more these days, but that's because I have my own cabinets in there. I mean, we literally went to Imagine if you could go to Sunset, take your favorite cabinets and get your dyne IRs and everything. So it's my cabs. I mean, I love the way they sound, and I pull them up and I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. It's what I want. So, you know, I find myself using that because it's, you know, it was tailored to me. So it, you know, of course, you know, so I've been using the Captor X quite a bit in my home studio. For example, I used it on some of the sounds for if you watch the superconductor video, the last demo I put out, Crazy Tube Circuits pedal, the Vox sounds are the two notes. Maybe not all of them. I think for the solo at the end, when I was playing the King Royale with my 335, that was coming through my real 412 cabinet. But the rhythm guitar sound at the beginning, the very first sound, that's a Vox style cab, you can hear it's a little thinner sounding, a little more combo sounding. Part 1 of that song, if you watch the video, that was the two notes Captor. So you know, I'll mix it up and use different things on these things. Getting long-winded, sorry. Have you hung out with Nita Strauss since she's been playing with Britt? No, but Britt's hanging with her every day because they're, you know, doing rehearsals and stuff. This is for the Demi Lovato tour. She's got an all-girl rock band with Britt Bowman on drums, badass, and Nita playing guitar, and Britt's best friend Leanne is playing bass. It's a pretty cool little outfit. But I'll be seeing them. They're playing some gigs coming up, and I'm gonna go check it out, of course. So I'm sure I'll see Nita. Yeah. I did make a little. Wow. Didn't talk to her, but there was one little part. She was like, "How the hell does this go?" or whatever. And she was like, it was one little thing on it was a strange tuning, and I was like, I think it's like this, you know. And I made her a video or whatever and sent it to her. She was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so we had that. But I've met Nita before, and in Japan actually. It was, I went to her clinic and we hung out there for a little bit because she's friends with Britt. So, what do you think of hollow body guitars? I love my 335 is a great, you know, and my DG. I have a couple. I have a DG 335. Dave Grohl, you know, kind of Trini Lopez, really, Pelham Blue, and I have my old 63 335, which is one of my prized possessions, honestly. Yeah. Let's see. Top Load Deli, you're a gentleman and scholar for sharing your expertise on these live streams. Thanks, man. Once again, I always learn from you guys. I mean, we had some great discussions earlier for those that joined late about green glue, and I learned some things that made sense to me about, you know, when building a studio, about green glue is the glue you use between drywall. And somebody was saying, is this BS? And there were some good answers about it's not exactly BS, but it doesn't make a huge difference, but a little bit of a difference. So I learned a little bit. I learn things every week on here. I love it. So, yeah, Ben says, check out the tour dates here, fiveforfighting.com/tour. Please come out and see a show if you're around. And let's see. At this point in your life or career, do you ever consider putting together a band and doing originals you guys come up with? Well, it'd be more me to getting on with another record, which I've been talking to some people about, make a third record, and, get something out there. So probably time, you know. I might, you know, start thinking seriously about this, I think, and towards the end of this year, you know, maybe November, December, when I've got a little downtime. What if I was to knock out a record like really quickly, as opposed to taking a year to, do overdubs and stuff. Like do a few days in a studio with maybe 2 days doing bass and drums, 4 songs a day, for one day, 5 another day, something like that. Just crank them out, get some basics done, do 9 tracks, and then maybe leave a 10th could be a no drums kind of thing, maybe solo acoustic thing or something. And then set about doing overdubs and just don't do anything else for 2 or 3 weeks. Just overdubs, get it done. Maybe have someone else mix it. Who knows? For a change, maybe not. But all right, to the bottom of the chat, and then I'm just about out of here. We're at 2 hours now. Let's see if there's any other quick questions here. Some originals would be nice to hear. Yeah, 100%. I'll do it. I have 2 out now for those that don't know. There's Pete Thorn 2, as well as Guitar Nerd, which came out 2011. So those are out there. Handful of singles and all that. But it's time for a 3rd release. You guys are talking about tone on the aux. I can get the drop dead legs tone on the aux. Yeah, you could. Yeah, sure. Marshall and add the pitch shift, via the mod processor in there and get really close. What EVH sound do you prefer? The For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge or Balance era? I would say For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. That record actually has some really great, cleaner almost guitar tones on it. I like it, the sounds on that record. That he was using the baritone and doing some really interesting things on that record that I like. It's a good sound, and Andy Johns did it, and it's just like it has a humongous. That record's got a very unique sound to it. That's a great sound. I wish they'd done more with him, actually. With Andy. He was terrific, terrific with those guitar sounds. So, okay, guys, I think I'm going to split. It's been great. Thank you so much for hanging, your super chats. And next week, let me take a look really quick before I get out of here, where I will be next week. Maybe it's a day off, maybe not. If it's not, I'll probably be doing a similar thing to this a little bit earlier in the day than the usual. Next week, no, I'll be in North Carolina. So once again, I'll be on the East Coast. So let's just say that it will be the typical, sorry, not the typical, the atypical, starting around 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. West Coast time, just like I did today. That seems to work well for the schedule. For when we're rolling, when we're getting here, when I've got a little time off. So yeah, probably same time, same place next week. If you guys want to, tune in, and I'll come here and chime in. Thank you so much. Vincent's there, says great to see you. Thanks, man. Nice to meet you too, as well this week. You guys have a safe week out there, an awesome week, and enjoy yourselves and rock and roll from the Prevost tour bus in Massachusetts. I say over and out. Take care, everybody.